Our Quad Cities News at 4:30 continues on Fox 18.
The White House put out a budget proposal for fiscal year 2026 today. It calls for steep cuts to non-defense programs while boosting defense and border spending. And so let's talk a little bit about this with Republican Representative LaHood from Illinois 16th District, a Republican, as I said here. Thank you for spending some time with us today. Let's talk about that budget proposal a little bit. Among the things that they're talking about, cutting $25 billion in the Department of Housing and Urban Development. A lot of that state rental assistance block grants, and it sounds like that the president's proposal is we need to get this into the states. What are your thoughts there?
Well, Eric, first, thanks for having me on. You know, we got to remember we're $36 trillion in debt. This would be a much different conversation if we were $36 trillion in surplus. So you got to figure out how you reduce our budgetary items. And the president ran on that, frankly, when he ran for president last year, fixing our budget deficits. This year alone, we'll spend $7 trillion and we'll only bring in $5 trillion. So we have to have a budget that restricts spending, cuts back on that, and gets us on a path to fiscal solvency. That'll help bring down inflation and also allow us to spend money in other areas we need to.
So spending money is another area, and I'm assuming from you and I having conversations previously, the border has always been a big thing for you. Are we spending enough there? Do we need to spend more? And is it realistic that we can recruit more Border Patrol officers because that's or ICE officers because that's one of the things in this proposal?
Well, listen, one of the things President Trump ran on was fixing the southern border. If you look today, it's been reduced by 95%. We allowed 11 million people to come into our country illegally during the Biden administration. It was an unmitigated disaster. I think the president's done a remarkable job just in the first 100 days in reducing that, supporting our Border Patrol agents, but putting in place the Remain in Mexico policy that had an agreement with Mexico, with their military, that everyone gets stopped on the Mexican side. Now, you can apply to become a legal citizen, you can apply for asylum, you can apply for a green card, but you're going to do it on the Mexican side. That has stopped the flow of illegal immigration. Secondly, we have boosted our court system, so if you're here illegally and you commit a violent crime or you're a convicted felon or convicted of a misdemeanor, you're going to go back to your country of origin. That, again, helps to protect the citizens here in the United States.
But are you comfortable with how some of those deportations are being handled? There has been some criticism that there isn't due process in some cases.
Well, I think the president and his legal team are following the letter of the law. Some people might not like that, but they're following the letter of the law and working within the judicial system to do that. But the president ought to have discretion when you have violent criminals that are here illegally to get them out of the country, to send them back to their country of origin, whether that's Venezuela, whether that's El Salvador, whether that's Colombia, or other countries.
I want to touch on one more thing with you here in the last little bit that we have, and that is defense spending. There's been some concern at the Rock Island Arsenal here. I know that's not in your district, but yet I'm sure you pay attention to what happens at the Arsenal. There's a union that's been working without a contract since 2023, or at least a mutual agreed contract in their terms. Are you concerned about the Arsenal? They're worried they're going to lose jobs over here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's essential to the economy. In the district I represent, I have all of Henry County, so I have a lot of employees that work at the Arsenal that are in our district. We're well aware of that. We have weighed in with the Trump administration. We're going to continue to advocate for the tremendous work that goes on at the Rock Island Arsenal and the impact it has on national security for the country.
Really quickly, too, on Medicaid, there are some Republicans that are really, really adamant that there's not going to be any kind of budget deal without some significant changes there. What do you want to see done?
Well, I think on Medicaid, which Illinois relies on Medicaid to a significant extent, I think where we can move people off Medicaid that are able-bodied working adults that can work, we ought to move them off. We have 7 million unfilled jobs in the country. Where we can move people off Medicaid into jobs and putting work requirements in there, we ought to do that. Where we need that Medicaid, where we need the Medicaid dollars as a social safety net for disabled people, people that can't work, seniors, that's what it's intended to do. We ought to protect it.
Congressman LaHood, thank you for coming and spending a couple minutes with us today, and obviously a very, very busy time in Washington. When are you headed back?
Heading back Monday morning early.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Eric.